Hey there, welcome back to my channel. In the last episode, we have created our catalog service basic structure. In this episode, we are going to work on our catalog service, where we will put our hands on the coding part. Certainly, we will apply the test-driven development, right? Now let's start with the test-driven development setup. So first of all, a couple of libraries we need to install. This is the library which is we are going to use for our test-driven development. That is called Jest and Jest, and we need to install our types version as well as. So these are all the things we are going to install as a kind of development dependencies, right? Right. And one more thing is going to be needed, that is called yarn add supertest and types version of the supertest, right? Perfect. So now this is the time where we are going to initialize our test setup. That is going to be like, then yarn just init. Then it is going to ask you a couple of questions. So in this case, we would like to add this test in our package.json file. Say yes. Then it says like, would you like to use the TypeScript for our configuration file? I'm going to say yes. It is asking where we would like to test this stuff, right? We would like to test this stuff in the Node environment, not in the browser, right? Then do you like the test coverage? Yes, we need that because we would like to add this test coverage for our future episodes. And we are going to use the V8 engines, right? Automatically clear mock calls, instant context result before every test. Yes, we would like to clear everything. Yes, now our Jest configuration file has been added, right? So let's try to understand what exactly it is there, right? So first of all, a couple of things we need to add here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wipe it out all these commented things from here. So let's try to remove all these things. Then first thing is going to be needed preset. We are going to use one preset. Preset we will be used like ts Jest, right? Then clear mocks is true. Then collect the coverage is true, right? Then here we need to add one more thing that is going to be verbose, right? So will be true. Then coverage directory is needed. So let's try to clean all commented out stuff. Here coverage directory is coverage. This is perfectly fine. Then coverage part pattern also we need to add. That is going to be coverage part ignore patterns. This is going to be we don't wanna cover the node modules, right? Node modules, and then coverage provider will be V8. This is perfectly fine. Then module directory, so where we will be keeping our modules, so that is we need to mention, right? So let's try to wipe it out everything from here. We just want to keep this whole Jest configuration clean. And now module directories. Yeah, module directories will be, what are the modules we are going to utilize in this case? So let's try to use node modules and src, right? Cool. So these are the things it's needed at this moment, right? So these are the configurations are needed exactly, all right? We need to have the preset of the Jest, the TSS, that is because we are running all the tests in TypeScript file, right? And we are adding all these configurations file accordingly, just in order to continue our test-driven development, right? Let's try to save these things right here. Now let's go inside this services directory, right? And create a kind of directory here. This is going to be __ test __. This is a kind of conventions for our test files to keep it in one place so we can run our test cases efficiently, right? So let's try to create one file here. This is going to be like catalog service .test.ts, right? So this is how we are indicating like this is a kind of file which is a kind of test, right? And we are writing our test cases in TS file. So let's try to spin our first test case. This is going to be like describe, and here we are going to say like this is going to be catalog service, right? And inside the describe, we are going to add our all the bunch of the test cases. As an example, test here, like test. Right, so counts a equal 10, right? Then we are expect this is going to be a equal to equal 10 as an example, right? Just we are testing out, because don't think like this is a kind of test, all right? I'm just gonna test it out whether our environment setup, everything is working correctly or not, right? So let's go to package.json file. Here you can see already our test script is added here. So let's try to run this one, yarn test, right? So now if everything is well, then we should have supposed to see this success message, right? Yeah, can you see like it's succeeded, right? As soon as we are adding the modules, you know, then you'll supposed to see here numbers of line and the coverage, etc. But it's a good sign, like our configuration is correct. Now we can write the test cases right here, right? So without delay, let's go add some code here. So first of all, so what is test-driven development? So test-driven development is a kind of method, or you can say it's a kind of process, right? Where we are writing the test before writing the actual code, right? And based on that, the specific outcome, we can extend our functionality on that the real where exactly we are putting that actual function. In this case, we are going to add some code here in order to cover our create product, right? Then based on that specific test requirement, you know, whatever the outcome we are expected from here in this test, then we will be going to extend our pieces from here, right? So what are the required code is going to be needed in order to achieve that specific business logic. So that is we are going to do here. So let's try to do that. First of all, I'm going to get rid of all these things here, right? So let's try to make some room here. So right before describe, two things I'm going to do here. First of all, before each, right? Before each. And after each. Right, so what exactly the before each and after each is doing, you know? While we are having some kind of test, you know, before each we can set up something, whatever the prerequisites going to be needed to run that specific test, that is we can set up it here. Once that specific test has been done, then we can clean up all these things by visiting this after each. So that means set up here, run the test, something like this, right? So you can say, right, like before each, we are going to set up whatever the requirement, whatever the dependencies is going to be needed to run this specific test case. Then we're going to set up it here. And after that, once we are successfully run that specific test case, then we're going to clean up all the dependencies, whatever we have set up it here, right? So this is the way we are just like set up and run the test and clean up. So this is the way we are going to do. But we no need to necessarily like put all this after it's right after all the test cases. You can put it together as well as. Jest is smart enough to pick it up the before each and after each from any location, right? So let's try to add some code here. You might have thinking like we have described here also, then why we are putting here? We can have a bunch of scenarios, right? Which is we need to group it together. So this describe is exactly, it's grouping all the test cases together. That is how it is working. So let's try to add our first test case, right? So here, test should create product. Should throw error. Product already exists, right? So you can see we have two scenarios, right? So let's try to cover one by one all the scenarios. So first thing first, what we need to do here, we will be adding like our service, because you can see this is our service, right? Catalog service. So to access that specific function, we need to instantiate that specific class, right? This catalog service class. Then only we will be able to access this one. So let's try to do that. So in that case, what we are gonna do, because this class needed a repository as well as, right? So we need to create the repository. We need to inject that repository to the constructor. Then we can have a kind of pure instance of that specific things. Then we can access this function. So how we can do that? Let repository will be I catalog repository, and before each here we are going to set up like repository new mock repository. You might have thinking like why we have added this mock repository, right? We could have directly add this repository also because catalog repository already exists, right? So as I said, you can add both, like maybe you can add the catalog repository, or maybe you can add the mock repository. Why we have added mock repository? Every time while we are running our test cases, we don't want to interrupt the database, right? Every time we don't want to hit the database to in order to do the same thing. So what we are going to do, like our mock catalog repository is going to mimic our database behavior. So that's why we are added here. But other way around, I'm going to show you without mock repository how we can do that also, right? But let's stick with the plan first, right? First of all, we will be at least minimum code just to test it out, all these things. Then we'll throughout of the whole thing, we will going to refactor and we will improve our codes step by step, right? So then we are assigning our repository here. Now let's try to clean up here also. Perfect. So now we have added our repository here. We have set up our repository and we are cleaning up our repository with a kind of empty object here, right? So now what we are going to do here, let's try to create a kind of instance of the service. This is going to be new catalog service. And here we are going to inject our repository, right? So now you can see our services here, right? We can access the service and we can access the create product here, right? This is the way which it's gonna work. But to create the product, we need to have something. First of all, let's say const result. Oh wait, it should have to be async because we need to perform like the database stuff also. Maybe we will be perform some kind of operations right there. So let's try to mark it as a kind of async beforehand. Then service dot create product, and create product going to be needed some kind of the input, right? So let's try to make it kind of empty at this moment. Then we can say expect it's going to be result and to match object. So what exactly expect it is? Expect it's a kind of function which is going to evaluate your whatever result or whatever response it is coming from that specific test outcome. And we can compare a bunch of like all this with different scenarios in terms of like expect result is not, may not, or rejects result to be, or to be close, define, or whatever it is, right? To be greater than or equal, or to be instance of something. Like we can evaluate a whole bunch of options here, right? So you can see like Jest is giving a lot of flexibility in order to evaluate the expectation. So we are only interested right here to the match object, because while we are going to create our product from our service, right, from our business logic perspective, then it should have to return some kind of data, right? So in that case, it may be return some kind of like, maybe just like ID is going to be like number, right? Number. But how we can determine like number, like what kind of number it will be, we don't know, right? As an example, ID will be 0 or maybe 1, right? Then the name will be some kind of, we can just go ahead to the model. We can copy all these things from here, copy, and come over here, edit just for convenient, right? So we should not supposed to go back and forth. So any kind of string here, price will be numbers, let's say, right? Then stock will be suppose number, and description also going to be needed, right? Description also going to be needed. So now you can see we have some kind of response while we are going to create the product. Then it should have to return some kind of response just like this. but we cannot predict like what kind of what is the exact number it will come from this create product, right? What will be the name or description or price, stock, everything, how we can determine. So in that case, Jest is giving some kind of options to evaluate it. We are not bothered at all like what kind of like exact number or text or description it will come from there. Only we care about ID should have to return a kind of number, text has to return some kind of string, description also string, price and stock has to be number. So in that case, just to go ahead here, try to, let's say, expect of any, and it will be number, right? And this is the similar way we are going to say like expect of any, and this is going to be like string, right? Any string, right? This is the same way we can add it here as well as, and we can add it here as well as. Price is any kind of number, stock is any kind of number. So that means while our create product will return, it should have to return some kind of ID, any number, name, any string, right? Description, price, stock accordingly, right? Good. Let's try to run this one. As expected, first test case has to be fail, right? Because we are not fulfilling the request or all these things from there are, right? So let's try to close the rest of other stuff, right? Now you can see it is failed. Why it is failed? Because expected is something else, but we have received something else. So now you can see the result exactly. It is not matching with our received value. So now let's go ahead to the create product and add some code it here. So first thing first, our create product is we are calling with the help of await. So this create product function has to be async, right? Yeah. So this is going to be async, but it is not returning anything. Let's try to return something. Return like ID. ID will be, let's say, 1. Name will be something like some string. And description will be something like some description, and stock will be 1 as an example, price will be, let's say, 1, right? So now if you're gonna run this one, then definitely it should have to work correctly, right? Now you can see our test is passed, right? So but this is what we are not expecting, right? Because we need to get the data from our repository, and that is the thing exactly. It's required by our actual application, right? So how we can do that? Let's go ahead and remove all these things from here, right? So what we are gonna do, like, we need to call this repository, right? Where we will be creating our product, then some data will be returned from the repository. That has to be tested here, right? That is the thing we are going to expect from this product function, right? So first of all, let's const data will be await this repository.create, and here we are going to put our input. Now we can see we have data, right? So let's try to return it. Right, data. So now let's go ahead and test it out once again. Definitely this time it is going to be fail, right? Yeah, it is fail now. So what exactly is happening? Because it seems like create product we are adding the right information, but it is not be able to do that. So let's try to add some more code here. First of all, let's try to add this request input, right? Because we are passing kind of empty object right here. So const request body. Request body will be a kind of body that is going to be like ID, not ID, name. And $1,200, let's say. The request body, we are going to pass it here. Request body. Now perfect. So our create product is it's handling like, it's able to receive the request. If you go to create product here, then seems like this function is correct, right? But only problem is like our repository is not going to return everything correctly. That's why our test case is getting failed here, right? So it says like method not implemented by here in the catalog repository, right? So let's go ahead here in the mock catalog repository, try to implement something. At least our test can be passed from there. Let's go here, and here I'm gonna get rid of this line here. Now let's try to implement something just like const mock product. This is going to be like ID we can do 1 2 3 and some kind of data which is going to be needed, that is we are going to accept from here, right? because while we are creating the product, then only all this input, whatever we are going to pass from our business logic layer, that is we are going to accept here, and only we are going to add this ID number, right? And rest of all the data will be the same, right? Let's try to spread our data here, right? Then now we need to return these things also, right? So let's say s that product. Now return promise.result promise.result. This is going to be our mock product. Perfect. So now you can see our create function is added here in the repository, right? We are going to mimic our specific ID here, and rest of all the data we are returning. So if you go here in the test case, let's try to close rest of all. Now just to try to run again. Now it should have to pass. Now you can see it is passed correctly, right? Perfect. So this is how it is working. So let's go ahead and add some more code, so at least we can have a little bit more flexibility. But before that, we need to refactor all these things. Now here you can see in the request body, we are passing some kind of hard-coded information. We should have to pass some kind of dynamic information here, so at least our test can be more dynamic, right? So let's try to do that. So in that case, what we are going to do, we are going to install a couple of libraries. First of all, run add Refactor.js as a dev dependency, and because this is a kind of library which is going to help us to create the fake data or mock data, right? And this is really wonderful library. And another thing I'm gonna use like yarn add rosy, and types definition file also going to be needed, right? Let's try to install that. Perfect. So now we have added these two libraries. So let's go ahead here. Instead of this name, description, and everything, we can create something like reusable, because now you can see we have another test case also, right? So we need to reuse that specific request here as well as, but maybe partially some of the information is going to be needed or something like that. So in that case, what we can do, we can move that specific function to some kind of reusable function. So in case of like enter test, while in case of the enter test file can reuse that specific thing, right? That is we can do. So let's try to do it in efficient way. This mock product we are going to utilize here. So let's try to get all these things from here, right? Mock product, and let's try to return all this data from here, right? So instead of this hard-coded stuff, we are going to use Faker. So let's try to import Faker here. Right, faker.commerce.product name. And here also we are going to use like commerce.description, product description, and stock will be something like faker.commerce, not commerce exactly, faker.int number.init. Right, here we can put like minimum number will be, let's say 10, maximum will be 100, right? And price will be faker.commerce.price. Here comma is needed. So these are the exact dynamic data which is we are going to create while we are going to return this specific product, right? But this is not a kind of variable, this is a kind of function. So make sure we are closing everything right here, right? And here as well as. Now mock product we are going to utilize here. The request body is a kind of mock product, right? And other way around, we can do like this price also if you wish to test it out in a more efficient way, where maybe we are going to pass some kind of the data here. then we can put like this rest any, and as an example this price we are going to pass it from there rest. Then you can also do like this, something like this. So the whatever the necessary data we can keep it here, and rest of all we can keep all the optional data, pass it here as well. So like this, right? So this is also another way it's gonna work. So it's up to you how you can optimize this specific function, right? So now let's give it a try here, right? Run test. Right, it is not getting passed because something is there. All right, so here it says any number, but it is returning as a string, because while Packer is generating the price, it is returning as a kind of string. So let's try to cast this as kind of number, right? Now it should have to pass. Cool, now it is perfectly working. So let's move forward with the another test case, right? So now our create product is able to fulfill the happy part, right? So if there are no any error, then it can create the product. But what if there is a kind of error in the database side, right? And then it should have to throw some kind of error, meaningful error to the customer, right? So how we can do that? So let's try to add some code here again. Then in this case, we are going to copy a couple of things from here, right? Copy all these things there. And now let's try to add some kind of expectation. And this time we need to throw the error. So that's why what we are going to do, like await expectation expect, and here we'll be putting like our service dot create product, and this is going to request body, then regex to throw to throw. Here we are going to put like unable to create product, right? And this is absolutely going to be a sync function. Right, now let's try to run this one. Right, now definitely it will going to fail, right? So now at this moment you can see like it is resolving the request, right? But it should have to reject, right? How we can do that? So you can see we have created this repository here. You can see, right? We are injecting this repository from here, but the other way around, we can directly return some response from there. All right, if you go to this mock repository, it should have to throw some kind of error from here. But how we can do that? If we can add some kind of code, here, and that doesn't make sense, right? Because technically the create has to create the product, right? But while it comes to some error or something there, that has to handle by the create function itself. So to mimic that behavior, what we can do? So in that case, we're going to use some kind of feature. Already it's been provided by Jest, right? To do this kind of mimic activity, all right? So let's try to implement that. Jest spy on. And here we are going to spy on whom exactly? This is going to repository, right? And which function we are going to mimic? This is called create. And we are going to say mock implementation once. And this is going to be kind of promise dot result, and here we are going to pass as a kind of empty object as a kind of product, because if you can see here, let's try to import this one. So if you can see here, this create function is resolving with a kind of promise that is called product, right? That is exactly we need to return it, right? Perfect. So now we have our mimic function from the database side. Once we are going to call that the specific create function from the repository, it should have to return some kind of empty object. That means something is going wrong in the database, right? That has to handle by our product function. Now here we are going to add some code in order to fulfill that specific scenario. So data.id, right? If data.id is false, then throw new error, unable to create product. Right, so this error has to be exactly matched with like this one, right? So now let's try to run this. Yeah, you can see this scenario also, it's going to be fulfilled. Perfect. So now the product is able to handle that specific scenario. But one more thing, if something is happening in the database level, then what if? Because it's not going to able to come over here, right? Because it's going to throw from here. Unless it is throwing the data or it is returning the data, then only it's going to capture here. But in the database level, what we are going to do, right? In that scenario also we need to cover, right? So how we can cover that scenario? Let's try to do that. I'm going to copy this specific test case from here and go here. And this specific test case is going to be like, so throw error with product. This is not product already exists. It's my bad. So we need to say like throw an error with unable to create product. And this is going to be like, so throw error with product already exists, right? So and then this time what we are going to do, like this one, product already exists. This is we are putting here, right? And instead of this resolve, we are going to add some kind of reject, and we'll be put a new error. This is product already exists, right? So here one more. Yeah, perfect. Now perfect. So we are going to reject one kind of error from here, from the repository, all right, from the create function itself. While we are going to call that create function, then it is going to return that specific error from here. So spy on is a kind of helper function from the Jest. This is going to be spy on that specific create method. While we are going to invoke that specific create method, then we can do other activities just like, without returning the actual implementation, we can return some kind of mock implementation here, whether it's reject or resolve or whatever. So now it should have to cover our second use case also. Now you can see our perfectly fine all the test cases, right? It should have to create the product, so throw error with unable to create product, and so throw with the product already exists. Cool. So this is how we are working with like test-driven development, right? Now let's move forward to the update product. I know like test-driven development is a bit slow, right? But I swear it, like once you have completed all these features, you will get a kind of complete understanding of how this test-driven development is like we can do in an efficient way. So it's up to you, or it depends on your team culture, how you are follow, like it's a kind of test-driven development, or maybe you are just writing actual functionality and afterward you are writing the test cases. But in our case, we'll be follow test-driven development. Maybe because of that, we will be run a little bit slow, but we will try to speed up some of the things very quickly, right? Let's move forward to the update product feature, right? So I'm gonna close again rest of all the files, and let's here close all these things from here, right? Let's try to add quickly. Right, so here in the describe the update product, what we are gonna do, like the first test case, something like this. Then similar type of stuff we are going to add from here, right? Let's try to add it here. And this time we are not going to add this one. This is going to be like update product. But you can see like in this mock product function, it is going to capture a lot of things, right? So in that case, what we are going to do, we are going to provide the ID as well as. So ID will be picker dot number dot int, right? Then here min will be 10, max will be 1000, right? Then this is our request body, right? And this is going to be update product, but as expected result, it has to be something like not just like some kind of any number. This time we are going to follow a little bit strict principle, because earlier it is fine, like we don't know whatever the ID or some of the data it is coming from the create product, but in this case we know, like predicted information, just like request body, whatever we are passing it has to exactly update with the same. So let's try to remove all these things from here, and we're going to use like request body itself, right? Now it has to fulfill something like this. So if you're going to run this specific test, then it has to run the update product as well as, right? Yeah. Now as expected, it is getting failed because it's received undefined, right? So let's go ahead to the update product, add some code here, right? before that, mark it as a kind of async, because you can see we are calling with the await, right? So first of all, let's get the data, where we are going to use our repository once again. This repository dot update, and we will be going to put our input here, right? And once we are updating the product, then we need to emit a kind of event to our Elasticsearch also here. This is going to emit event to update in. That is we are going to do in later stage, but maybe you might have thinking like we can directly return these things from here, then why we are going to add this data. So that's why I thought like let's give a kind of indication. So this data we are going to utilize for our Elasticsearch, right? Where we are going to emit a kind of event. But that's a kind of further story. So let's try to return this data from here. Now partially our requirement is fulfilled, right? So this is going to be data, right? But still we are not be able to cover this test, right? Because this data exactly it has to return from our repository. So let's go to repository. So here into the mock repository, we will be adding some kind of informations from here, just like we did for our product here. It's like return promise result, and here we will put data as unknown as product. Perfect. So now we should have to pass the test case, right? So let's try to run the test. Yes, it is getting passed, because you can see we're just creating our request body, exact request body, which is we are updating here, right? In the update product. Update product is simply just like taking the input and calling the repository, then the repository is updating the information and giving back the updated product information here. Then we will return from here, right? So this is the way we can update the product. Now our update product is working, right? So we need to add one more scenario while we are trying to update some kind of product here, and that specific product doesn't exist, right? Then from the repository level, it should have to throw some kind of error, right? So that thing we need to handle it here. So let's try to add some kind of similar kind of exception, just we did for our create product, just like this, right? Let's grab this piece of code from here and add it here. And here we will replace a little bit code, just like should throw error with product does not exist, right? And here this request body is not required, right? And definitely this spy on we will be applied with update function of the repository. Then it should have to throw some kind of error, just like product does not exist, right? And here in this service, this is not going to be create product, this is going to be update product, and we are not going to provide any kind of input here, right? And this exception of the throw message, whatever the error message, it has to be identical with this one. So let's try to replace with this. Now our both the cases are covered for update product, right? So let's try to run the test here. Now we can see both the cases are covered correctly, right? Now our update product is covered, right? Now let's go to the next feature, that is going to be like get products, where we will be passed some kind of limit and offset here. So let's try to cover that test cases also. Let's try to utilize that one, describe, and here we will be putting get products. This is going to be like this. Here the first test will be test like should right. Here let's try to add some code quickly. And enter here we get and here we need to provide some kind of offset and limit, right? So let's try to create some kind of random limit. So const faker number, and minimum will be 1, max will be 100 as an example, or maybe 50 we can say. Let's keep minimum 10. Limit, we can just set some kind of random limit from here, right? So here results would have to be expected something like expect length will be 2 to equal will be random limit, right? So because this random limit, we're just to try to get the item, right? How many products we are getting it, that is exactly defined by this random limit. So while we are having the result, it should have to be matching that specific the random limit number, right? If we are requesting 10 products, then it has to be return 10 products. So that is the expectation of that specific the test case, right? One thing we need to do, so here the result.length is not enough to evaluate this test case. We need to add one more expectation. That is going to be like expect. This is going to be result. And this is to be match object, right? And this time, this is a kind of array of object, right? And you can say like here we will be return some kind of the product, right? So while we are creating the product from here, we are returning only one item, right? So potentially ID, name, description, price, and stock. So this similar kind of structure we need to return here as well as, right? But you can see here, maybe the random limit, it's going to be 50, right? In that case, how we can evaluate this kind of structure, just like array of the 50 objects, right? So somehow we need to create that specific type of the array, which is exactly look like the 50 items where contain the product informations, right? So let's try to do one thing. So in that case, we are going to use some kind of the factory to build our data structure, right? So we have already installed our one of the library that is called Rosie and the Packer.js, right? So with the help of the Rosie and the Packer.js, we will be create that specific factory for our product model, right? So we have already our product model inside the models directory. So let's try to implement that here. So const product factory will be new. So this factory will come from Rosie. So let's import Rosie first. Rosie, and here going to be like factory, and this is a kind of factory, but what kind of data we are going to pass it here? So factory pattern will be something like product model, right? So yeah, this is the product model. And now let's try to create our data structure. So how we can create it? Let's attribute, right? So here first thing will be ID, and that ID will be faker.number int, and minimum will be we can put 1, and max we can put 1000, right? Then let's come over here. All right, let's come over here. Then this time attribute will be our name. Then here faker.commerce.product name. Yeah, it will be a function. Then attribute will be description, and this is going to be faker dot commerce dot product description, and this is going to be like kind of again function, then again attribute dot, this time will be stock, and stock also will be number, just like this, right? Let's try to grab this piece of code here and add it here, right? And price also will be attribute. This is not going to close it here. Attribute will be price, then faker dot commerce dot price. Perfect, but we need to cast it to a number. Good, so now our product factory is ready. So where we can build this factory to create a bunch of products, or maybe single product also can be possible with the help of this Rosy library, right? So let's try to implement that one here. First of all, we will be going to mimic that our product feature from our here in the catalog repository, right? Catalog mock repository. So here in the Pine, then what we need to do, we need to accept the limit as a number, and offset also will be also number. So in that case, we need to add these things to our interface. Let's try to edit this interface here, right? So this is enough, I think. Perfect. Now let's go to mock catalog repository here, right? So while we are finding this stuff, then we need to return something from here, right? So as an example, so here, let's try to add something like this way: return promise dot result, and we will be passing kind of empty array from here. Actual implementation of the catalog repository, we will be going to apply ORM here, but for mock repository, that's perfectly fine at this moment. So here, right before this get product function, let's mimic our repository here. Just spy on, and here will be repository, and repository will be mimic the find function, right? Then mock implementation once. Here we will resolve like resolve promise dot result. Here we need to send some kind of data, right? Let's create some mock products, right? Const products will be product factory dot build list. How many numbers of item we need? The random limit, right? So whatever the random limit will become to the picture, that is the number of items we are going to create it here, right? So now this product, we are going to resolve it here. From our repository perspective, we are getting the products, which is created by our product factory, right? So list of product, we are going to create it here. So how many numbers of the product which is going to be needed as per the random limit, right? Now this is the result. Result is void, right? It is not returning anything. So what you can do, let's go to get product once again. So here, let's try to implement our repository stuff from here. So first of all, let's try to put it as async. And here, what we're going to do, like const products await repository dot find. Here we will pass our limit and offset and return products. Perfect. So as of now, this product is perfectly fine, but in future we are not going to call this product stuff from here. So we will be, instead of this, get product from Elasticsearch, right? So in future we will be instead of this database call, we'll be calling from Elasticsearch, right? So now you can see in this test file, the error has gone. It's returning kind of array, right? So while we are going to call this get products, then it should have to return this products array, right? So let's try to do that. Products. Perfect. So and now let's give it a try from here. Now, as of now, you can see we have plenty of test cases, right? So which is going to be like our create product or update product and get product. So in this case, if you don't want to run the rest of all the test cases, or if you're interested only one test case, right? Then just to put behind that specific test case just like this, like only. This is enough for the whole thing, because throughout of the whole file, it is going to execute only this specific test case. All right, so let's try to run that. Yarn test. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger so we can see. So can you see? everything has been skipped. Only that specific test case is it's getting run. So now it seems it's getting passed, right? That's correctly going through. And if you try to run that specific result, you know, that's like console.log result. Now just to try to run it, then you will get a whole bunch of like random products from there. Can you see it? This is a random product has been created by our factory function, right? Now one more test case we need to add, just like we did for our update product. So it should have to return like the empty array, or maybe it should have to throw some kind of error while we are looking for products, right? So let's try to copy that specific test from here, which is called should throw with product doesn't exist. This is the similar kind of behavior we need from here as well as. So let's try to add it here. Then products, this is products does not exist. And this time we can just like, instead of update, this is going to be like find, and products does not exist, right? So this is not update, this is going to be get products. All right, so limit will be just like 0, 0 we can put, and products does not exist. This is the similar, the error message also going to be similar, just like this, products does not exist. So now if we can run this one, then, but definitely we need to just remove that only thing from here, right? So let's try to run it together, everything. Yarn test. Now you can see all the test cases are getting passed. Right, cool. Now our get products are done. Let's move forward to the next one. Let's go to service. Then our get product and delete products are pending. Right, so let's get it done, the get product quickly. So if you go here, then copy that get product functionality from here, right, along with this test case, and go here bottom, right? Let's try to collapse it, right? And here we can add this, right? Close this specific the braces and parentheses. This is going to be get product, and should get product by ID, right? So here are a couple of things we need to change. First of all, this is not products, this is going to be product. While we are creating our product from our product factory, so here you can see in the product factory, it is capable to provide you kind of list of products or single product as well as. So while we are just creating a kind of list of products, then we need to build a list from there. Or if you need only one single product, then you can use something like this, like build, right? So it will potentially return only one single product from there. You can see this is only one product, right? And this is what we are going to pass it here, right? Now, while we are going to call our find1 function from the repository, then it will return only one product from here, right? That is what we are mimicking there, right? And now this is not going to be get products. This is going to be get product only, get product, right? Singular form. And we should supposed to provide a kind of ID also here, right? So that ID, where we will get it from product, right? Let's try to provide from the ID. Right, cool. We can put something like this, or maybe we can just force it to get it, because anyway we will get the ID from here. Right. Now this result length, we are not looking at the result length. So in the match subject, definitely we will be look at to this product from here. Whatever result will come, it should have to match the product. Cool. Now this is our get product. So let's try to give a shot from here. But before that, we need to make sure like in the get product is getting fulfilled correctly. So go to get product. Then you can see we have no any implementation here, right? Let's try to implement that. Async, and here we will be provide like const product await this repository, where will be find1 that is going to be ID, right? And let's try to return it. Then while we are going to call this get product right after the Elasticsearch implementation, then we will not call the product from our database, right? We'll be call that specific product from our Elasticsearch. Now let's go to repository here, mock repository, and you can see like we are not returning anything from here. Here also we can do the similar thing. Return like promise return promise dot result, right? And as unknown as product. Right, here inside that result we can just pass this ID also. Then because if you wish to try to evaluate with the ID, then it is going to be helpful. Now let's go here in the test, right? So everything is cool, right? Now let's try to run the test. Perfect. So now our get product also it's getting fulfilled, right? And then the similar way you can just go ahead and implement that the throw error also, right? So I'm just leaving up to you, right? I'm not going to add more test cases right here. And one more test case we need to resolve, like let's copy this one here and add it here. This is going to be like delete product, right? Delete product. So delete product by ID. Now while we are deleting the product, it should have to return something, right? So let's check it out here in the repository, right? And you can see we are accepting a kind of ID here, but we are not returning anything. So let's try to add something here. This is going to be like return promise. This is going to be like resolve with ID, right? That specific ID, whatever ID we are returning, we are just sending here to delete. That thing need to only just return it from here, right? We are not bothered at all like whole bunch of items. We are not expecting any product information. Only ID is enough for here. So let's go here, and now this is not going to be find one, right? So the product factory, this is perfectly fine. Only this product ID is going to be needed, and this is going to be like not find one, going to be delete. And it has to return some kind of data. This is going to be like product ID will be product.id, right? So ID we are returning from there, and this is not going to be get product, this is going to be delete product, service.delete product, and this product ID, the same product ID which is we have created here, right? And a result has to be matched just like this. ID will be product ID, product.id. Perfect. So this is what we are expecting from the delete product. One more case it's going to be needed, just like this. We can say like no product doesn't exist. That is also we can add it here. So I'm just leaving up to you. Like you can just go ahead and add one more test case here. So which is going to throw the error something like from here in the service. You can find it out like how we can accommodate that delete product, right? So now if we're going to run this one, this is not going to happen because why? Our delete product feature, it is not getting called anything, right? So if you can try to run, this is absolutely going to be failed, right? Yeah, it is getting failed because it's not returning anything. So let's try to add some code here, right? So go here in the catalog service once again, and first of all mark it as async. And now return it here. Return first of all, let's get the product from here or response. Await this repository dot delete by ID, and once it is deleted, then delete record from Elasticsearch as well as Elasticsearch. Right, then return the response. Right, this is what we are going to do. Maybe you can just add some kind of condition just like we did from here. Like you can check it out and you can cover that specific case as well as right here in the delete product section, right? But I'm happy enough to do like we are going to delete something and we are going to have the response from here. So that is we are going to test it out, right? So now it should have to work correctly, right? Let's try to do that. Right, perfect. So now we can see everything has been covered, right? So we have covered our create product, right? All these scenarios, update product, all these scenarios, get product, all these scenarios, and get product by ID and delete product by ID, right? These are the things are covered. So now here we can do one more thing. As of now, we are just writing the test cases for our mock catalog repository only, right? But in the upcoming episodes, we are going to add some real functionality, and where we will be writing some test cases for our catalog repository also. So at least we can test our repository layer also, right? By checking it out whether our database call is going through or not. Right. There are a lot of benefits of using the test-driven development, where you can detect the bugs very early, right? You can improve your code step by step, and you can be more confident while you are deploying your codes, because all the test cases, all the scenarios has been covered right here. So these are the couple of things exactly we are trying to follow in with the help of the test-driven development. Perfect. So that's all for today. In the next episode, we are going to work on our presentation layer, where we will be adding some test cases here, as well as where we can test it out our endpoints. And along with, we will try to catch up with the repository layer also, where we will be adding some kind of like real features, where right after that, maybe we can test it out whole applications from our Postman or somewhere else. I hope you have enjoyed this video tutorial. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe it right now, because I'm going to put a lot of useful content throughout of this series, and definitely which is going to help you to get a kind of better job or better opportunity or upgrade your skills to pro level. Thank you. Then let's take a break and see you in another episode. Bye-bye.